When you think of a bodybuilding diet, the first thing people say is chicken and rice. When we talk about the clean eating trap, that's what we're referring to, where someone has omitted all processed food, junk food, anything which would be deemed as unhealthy. Because people like to put foods in a healthy or unhealthy,
good or bad, yeah.
Good or bad. And we really try to avoid that because
if you look at someone who eats a highly processed diet, there are a 3% greater risk of death from all-cause mortality. Someone who meets the recommended aerobic guidelines, they have a 30% reduction in all-cause mortality.
They tie it to like their self-worth. The outcome you want is almost like driven by habits and intake, not like a moral choice.
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Superhuman Show, yeah?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Superhuman Show with your host, Ben Olliver, joined by the Doc, Taylor Waters, and Mr. Ryan Stevens. Today, we are talking about the clean eating trap. And so, as always, we need to define what we mean by clean eating. And most people know what this term is now. In the bros, it's the bro foods, eating the bro diet. But generally speaking, it's the clean diet. And when people talk about that, they're talking about foods which are as unprocessed as possible. I hate processed versus unprocessed because a potato is processed. Like there is a process it's gone through to go from the dirt to in a bag for you to purchase it, and then you wash it, and then you cook it. Like that's a process.
It's on a continuum, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I would say the less processed foods, like you could use the term like more natural foods.
Yeah, that's sort of the way that I lean into it. It's like natural, isn't it?
Yeah, and then but then you know even then it's like, but is it natural? You know, all the pesticides and things, and then you go organic, and it's like a rabbit hole.
Organic is another buzzword I use.
But yeah,
when people only from the ground. I hear some people say when you talk about clean eating.
Yeah, and it's so we're talking about, you know, the chicken, egg, beef, fish, fruits and vegetables, basic starches like oats, rice, potato. You know, when you think of a bodybuilding diet, the first thing people say is chicken and rice. Yeah. And so when we talk about the clean eating kind of trap, that's what we're referring to, where someone has omitted all processed food, junk food, anything which would be deemed as unhealthy. Because people like to put foods in a healthy or unhealthy,
good or bad,
good or bad. And we really try to avoid that because food is just food. It's not good or bad. There's certain foods which are conducive for some situations. There's certain foods which aren't conducive for situations. You could say pizza is an unhealthy food. If I have a anorexic kid and the only food they like is pizza is the best food on the planet for that person. And because it's providing protein, carbs, fat, salt, and calories. And so
hey, chuck some pineapple on it.
Yeah, a bit of fruit
fiber as well.
It's good now.
And so
you don't like fiber.
But this is what I really dislike, when people put foods in these categories with zero context. And it's like, no one should be eating pizza, no one should be drinking, like using dairy. Everyone should be eating this. I think there's so much nuance to it.
Do you know what I often find as well? Is like they'll be like, "Oh, I don't eat processed foods," or whatever. It's like you got like a protein shake there.
Yeah.
Chocolate, a blueberry flavored protein shake.
Just so you drink a strawberry lemonade pre-workout. And it's like that come from a powdered tub. And you know, everyone takes electrolytes. It's like, well, that salt doesn't just magically appear.
Freeze-dried coffee.
Yeah.
I think it's quite common though with like our clientele, like high performers. I hear a lot of them saying like clean eating. You know, and I think like it is quite simple to follow. Clear rule structure. Gives the illusion of control.
I think it's almost like, you know, when you think of like a high achiever, they like to be, you know, they're almost like a superior, like I'm up. And then it's like clean eating. It's like, oh, I don't eat that stuff. Like you guys eat that stuff because you're down there. Like,
I'm perfect.
I'm a high achiever. I eat clean. Like it gives you this level of like superiority. Like I have a good diet. I have a clean diet. I don't eat junk food pretty much.
And it's one of those things where, you know, there is massive advantages for prioritizing whole foods, unprocessed foods in your diet, from a micronutrient standpoint, from a satiety standpoint, from a simplicity standpoint when it comes to preparing your meals. But then also there are downsides to it where if you aren't used to eating like that, then it's a huge shift and you might get certain cravings for other foods which you've deemed as bad, and so you've kicked them out your diet. Traveling can be tricky to find kind of unprocessed foods like lean proteins and things, because any restaurant, is using oil or kind of certain flavorings or something which might increase the calories and be classed as not clean. So it can be limiting there. I think from just a long-term sustainability approach with a diet, I think there's advantages to including some, again, like more processed foods. It can be very hard to get enough calories in with a clean diet if you're a endurance athlete, or if you have a very fast metabolism. If you're just pounding potatoes and rice all day, you can get digestive issues from a food volume standpoint, and that's where more processed sugar-based foods, more palatable foods can be beneficial.
I think from a salt standpoint, that's one thing that I found is like in a fat loss phase where I lean into what you would consider very clean foods, is I drink a lot of water, I sweat a lot, and then I eat very like low sodium foods. And I find I'm cramping a lot, or I feel like dehydrated even though I'm drinking a lot. And I'm like, that's one thing that I found with it.
I think like the biggest thing is just like real world practicality. Like originally people will think, oh, like I'm empowered by this, but then there'll always be a situation come up where that'll be restrictive, just like the examples you have given. And then that leads to, oh, I've failed. It's like, because in their mind, from people I speak to, they're either eating clean eating or they're failing. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. It's a continuum.
And then it's very common for people that do clean eating diets to then have a cheat day, or a day where they eat the junk food and whatever. And when you add up all of the junk they eat in that one day, if they just had a chocolate bar every day, they'd be consuming less junk food across the week. They're almost like building a list in their head across the week of like, oh, here's what I'm going to eat on my cheat day. And it's like, you look at that day and you're like, that's fucking disgusting. Like, that's so much, no one needs a dozen donuts, but but equally, if you just had one donut a day, that's 7. That's not a dozen. And so little things like that where it's you can convince yourself that you're eating clean and all this stuff, but it's like, but once a week you're really going ham on some stuff which you would class as not clean.
It's one of those things, isn't it, where like they'll tell you all like why they're eating clean and then they'll go, oh yeah, but on a Saturday when I'm out with my friends in the pub and a party, it doesn't count then. I can drink alcohol, have pizza. It's like, oh, it's all right then,
But I think that's literally what it does. Like when you think about what, a lot of our work is from a body composition standpoint, it creates the illusion that what they're doing is going to get them to the goal. Because it's like, and because again, what they do is they'll look at, say, someone who is shredded, and they generally do eat quite clean. But they're missing the point. Is what it is given the nutrition targets that they've got, eating those types of foods supports those numbers most of the time. So they naturally will lean into those types of foods. But it's not because they're eating clean, they're in the shape that they are. It's that they're nailing their nutrition numbers, and it's those foods that will generally associate with those numbers. So what it does, people just go, oh, like how often do you have an onboarding call with a client and they're like, say they're 40 pounds overweight or whatever. And it's like, things I do eat clean. And so what they've done is, again, it's creating this illusion that I'm doing good. I'm eating the foods that I should be eating. And then it's like, yeah, but it doesn't hold that much weight. You're just eating as, you do eat a lot of natural foods, but it doesn't mean anything. Well, it doesn't mean much in the setting of body composition, at least.
They tie it to like their self-worth, right? When really, like on onboarding calls, you can have a conversation, just say, well, the outcome you want is almost like driven by habits and intake, not like a moral choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it is strange, isn't it? Like you'll see, say now you see with like females, and 2 females will go for lunch, and one of them wants the burger, but then the mate goes, I'll have a salad. And they're just like, you bitch. Like
you've done me.
You're trying to be better than me because you've had the salad and I want the burger. So then it's like, I'll have a salad as well.
Yeah.
No, it's like where there's this morality that's tied to the food. And if you have the clean food, you're suddenly like a good
superior.
person.
It's like you're a good person if you eat like a broccoli. You're a bad person if you have a slice
So what
of
I
pizza.
do, I'll have a burger and then I donate to charity. Then
it makes us feel better.
Equally,
Now I was
though,
laughing.
Equally, though, you can have say like someone that's overweight that says like I eat clean food, and maybe they do. They literally eat organic, grass-fed, gluten-free, like whatever, but they're still 40 pounds overweight, and they have a friend that eats, Pop-Tarts, kids cereal, McDonald's, and they're in shape, and they go, they're just lucky they've got a good metabolism. But it's understanding the fundamentals of they're probably still eating low calorie. They do eat Pop-Tarts, but they take a bite of one and then it's left by the side, and they take 3 days to eat it. And versus you're eating ribeyes every night, and even though it's grass-fed, you're eating 80 grams of fat, in one meal.
And cooked in 80 grams of oil.
And this is where people can fall. It's like when you talk about finances and you say, just focus on spending a bit less and saving a bit more. It will work if you've done nothing. If you've gone from eating, just with like zero limitations with your diet to now you're eating more fruits, you're eating more vegetables, you're eating lean proteins, you're trying to eat as unprocessed as possible, you're very likely going to lose weight and put yourself in a calorie deficit because those foods are higher in volume. You're going to feel stuffed. You're not going to eat as much. You're eating enough protein. You're getting your fiber in. That will work to a point. And then you're stuck with this situation of like, well, I need to eat even cleaner. And then maybe you take out salt, or you double down on the organic and you go gluten-free, and you're like, it's still not working. It's like, cleaner. And it's like, well, at what point do you get to the point it's like you can't go any cleaner, you're just eating too much. And that's where you don't have to go through that extreme, and you can still include those other foods and say, you can eat them in moderation. But we have to understand what's driving the weight loss or fat loss in the first place, which is the calories. And so once we can say, like, I really like Alan Aragon's approach, like the 80-20 rule. Like, you should prioritize unprocessed foods, whole foods, single ingredient foods, whatever you want to call them, for like, 70 to 80% of your diet. The other 20%, so you're talking maybe 400 calories a day, 500 calories a day, eat what you want. Like, if you've already hit your protein needs for the day, you've got your fiber intake, you've had your fruits, you've had your vegetables. If you want to have a slice of pizza with your salad, have at it. Like, that's going to keep cravings lower. It allows you to eat the foods that you enjoy. If you don't particularly enjoy the kind of whole foods and things, it will keep your adherence higher long term, so much more than trying to omit pizza. How many bodybuilders do you know that gain 30 pounds after the show because they haven't had a cheat day, a cheat meal? They don't incorporate those foods into their plan. Like, I understand at the end of a prep, you're pretty much limited anyway, but they almost go so extreme with their food limitations that the moment they get a taste of chocolate or pizza or cheesecake, the floodgates open. And even if their coach said, every day, I want you to have 200 calories of cheesecake, like, that's your favorite food, I want you to have it every day. After the show, they don't want cheesecake. So I've had it every day. Like, I've had Oreos every day. Like, I don't need them now. And I think it really is important to try and incorporate those foods within reason to your plan. And again, like we spoke about, women, they have a lower calorie requirement generally. They're going to be able to incorporate less stuff or in smaller portions. And it's not fair, but that's just the way it goes.
One of the things I like to do when someone says like they eat clean and stuff, and you'll often see they're not getting the outcome that they want, like they're 40 pounds overweight or whatever. And you can just simply say like, well, how is your clean eating diet working for you? Because you're 40 pounds overweight. And you'll often see that when they're in their environment at home, yes, they can eat those foods that they like to eat. But then they'll travel, they'll go to a social event, and this is where their rules and structure doesn't apply, and they'll go off plan, they'll feel like they're failing. It's like, right, well, this is clearly not working for you. You're not getting the outcome you want, however clean the foods are. So are you open to trying something else? And that's how you start introducing like other foods and stuff then.
I think one of the most like, I don't want to say controversial, but like debated things is the majority of research, if someone's overweight and they have higher risk factors of coronary heart disease, high blood pressure, all of these, like, what's the other one? What's the other really common one? Diabetes. The just losing the body fat, regardless of how you do it, improves all of those markers. And I think this is where people get their pants in a bunch, where they'll say, you should, if you lose weight eating nothing but sugar, for example, like you're going to become diabetic. And again, all of the research shows that's not the case. Like if you lose the body fat and get your body fat into a healthy range, what is deemed, by BMI or whatever it is, all of your health markers improve. Whether that's you do fasting, whether that's you do keto, whether that's you do high carb, low fat, a bodybuilding diet, a protein only diet, a vegan diet. Like if you drop the excess body fat, health markers improve. Then you'll get to a point of diminishing returns where maybe your diet starts hurting you. You might be deficient in certain micronutrients. Your energy levels tank because you're on a keto diet, all of these things. And that's where you can start to kind of fine tune things. But it's almost like a peak and a trough where there's this point of like maximum return. But I think this is where, again, people will say, well, no, like you recommend maybe a convenient food because they're traveling, like, hey, like pick up some deli ham or something, like super easy protein, don't have to prep it. And they go, no, it's got nitrates in. I'm not going to have that. And I'm like, you're fucking 250 pounds. Like the ham ain't hurting you. Yeah. And it's like, no, I only eat the organic chicken breast. It's like, you don't, because you wouldn't be 250 pounds otherwise.
Yeah. But what happens when it's cheat day? Oh, well, I'm going to hammer donuts.
Yeah.
And suddenly the ham was not a good idea on Tuesday, but the donuts are now a phenomenal idea. Or it's like booze. People go out and they're blasting lagers or wine, and it's like, but you're worried about the plastics in your ham.
Yeah.
Like, mate,
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
It's diverting your attention. It is not to face the actual
and
reality.
It's, if you want to be aware of those things, then it's like, it's fine. But it's like, move the big rocks first. If if your body fat is looking really good, your energy levels are good, you're looking for the edge, and then you can say, I think I'm gonna like sub my deli meat out for some organic chicken breast. I'm like, hey, like great idea. You've earned the right to kind of be concerned with those things if that's something that you want to go down. Like personally, I'm not bothered by it, and maybe I die younger because of it. But I would rather enjoy my life with ham, than eat nothing but organic meat and that kind of trade-off.
I can tell you something, the hospitals ain't flooded because of nitrates, I can tell you.
Yeah.
I think you'll be all right.
Or like, your fruit that's not organic. And it's like no one's getting admitted because they ate non-organic apples.
Well, mate, I saw a thing that I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but it was basically like, if you look at someone who eats a highly processed diet, they're at a 3% greater risk of death from all-cause mortality. Whereas if you see someone who meets the recommended aerobic guidelines, they have a 30% reduction in all-cause mortality. So it's like you see people like worrying about and that's someone who eats like a highly ultra-processed diet. So and then you got someone worrying about like a bit of processed ham. But even if you ate like sugary sodas and all this other stuff, there's only a 3% increased risk, which is, it's not great, but it's not. But then you ask them to do, what about going for a walk? Suddenly, but you got a 30% return on investment there.
Yeah.
You got a 3% return on investment there. You're not even doing it properly.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's these things, when you actually look at it like that, that's 10x more important than that. But you're not even willing to look at that. Yet you're making this sound like a real high up on the priority list. And it's like just because, but again, it's that clean eating. I don't know why, but it gives you that level of even like as a fitness coach, like I've been out with people for food and like you'll order the pizza and they're like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Like, they're almost like, like you're a fraud. You take your eyeballs off me, mate.
Yeah. When it's like the last 8 weeks, the majority of your diet has been chicken and berries. And it's like, if I want to have pizza, then I'll have pizza.
It's like, I'm like sitting here relatively lean, very active, decent shape. And like you're sat there like 30 pounds overweight and sedentary and loves booze, yet you're turning your nose up at me.
Yeah, it's always someone that's in worse shape.
Yeah.
It's like if I had to generalize like the type of clients that focus on the minutia that doesn't really matter, it's all of the clients that are not getting any progress and they're not hitting their calories, they're not getting their steps in, they're not getting their workouts in, and they use these things as like procrastination. Like, what do you think about saunas? And it's like, what do you think about walking? Like, what do you think about like removing gluten from my diet? It's like, what do you think about like portioning anything?
Yeah.
And it's like you're you're asking me what I think about all of these things, and it's like we're avoiding the deeper kind of problem, which is like, I'm like, what do you think about doing anything to change? And they're like, no, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to pick your brain on, what do you think about TRT?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, like your test levels will double when you lose 50 pounds. Like it's just
total avoidance of the real work.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Think of it from like a business standpoint. Say now you're selling a product and the reviews on the product are coming back and they're trash. You're giving refunds everywhere. Everyone's hating the product. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. And you all sit down for a business meeting and someone goes, right, guys, in the office, we go in red pens or black pens? And you're like,
yeah.
mate, like, what's going on here? Like, stuff the pens.
Yeah. I think we should get some comfier chairs in here. And it's like, what are we doing?
You're there in like 2 mil debt. Oh god.
Yeah. It's that, and because again, it's much easier because even if people are reading things online about supplements or diets and things, they convince themselves that they're doing work on themselves because they're thinking about their diet. Yeah. But they're not actually doing anything to help them.
It makes them feel better in the moment, and then as soon as that goes, they'll look for something else that doesn't require any effort.
If I look at my guys that have got in the best shape and maintained it, all of them are probably around like a 70-30 split of they eat chicken, vegetables, fruits, eggs. They also use protein shakes, protein bars, beef jerky. They have some cheesecake now and again. They go to Wendy's. They have a milkshake. Like they do all of this stuff as well, but it's all in moderation. And it's like I don't have a single guy or girl that's shredded and in shape that eats like, nope, I do organic, gluten-free, none of this stuff. And they all enjoy those things because they understand, for me to maintain this, I got to keep some sanity and keep these foods in rotation. Yeah.
What I often find as well, those same people that talk about like clean eating, because obviously what we refer to is like more of a flexible approach. But if you speak about a flexible approach, then they just think like in your example, when you order the pizza, that's all you eat every day.
Yeah.
And then clean eating is like chicken and broccoli.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah, it's all or nothing thinking. And that's why
you're either trying to fit Pop-Tarts and protein powder in your macros, or you're doing a bro diet. It's like, well, there is this massive scale or like continuum in between these two things. But again, people tend to just view everything in life as black or white. Yeah. Like you're either left or you're right. You're either, bro food or not. You're either carnivore or you're vegan. Yeah. And if someone's like, I'm an omnivore, it's like, oh, you're a fucking loser. And it's like, pick a side, bro.
Yawn.
And it's like, yeah. But it's the moderation isn't sexy and it doesn't sell, but it wins every single time. And I'd rather be a winner.
Yeah.
So it's the philosophies that we try to educate and preach to our clients is moderation with these foods and just education on the sense of, here are the benefits to these foods. Here's when they can be useful. Here's where they might not be useful. Here's the downside of these foods. Here's the upside of these foods. Now you can make an educated decision. We can collect feedback. We can have a conversation about it, and then we can adjust. Like that's all what it comes down to. And I think people really overcomplicate the whole thing. And because again, it's maybe it's boredom, maybe it's like that elitism or kind of wanting to be advanced. And it's like, no, I need this for my body type and these kind of things. And like look at you, right? Like it's like you've been in shape now for the last 15 years, and and how old are you now? 34.
Same age as you, yeah.
30, I always forget.
33, I think. Yeah, we.
It's irrelevant for this. 34. 34. Yeah, 34. I thought it was 33 the other day. 34 now, Jesus. But like since I've known you, which was like when we were 19 20. Yeah. You've been in shape, and I don't think I've ever seen you kind of be like, no, I don't eat those foods, they're bad for me and stuff. You've always incorporated those again, quote unquote unhealthy foods in your diet, but you're meticulous with your calorie tracking, and you're always, not hitting it to the exact calorie, but in the range, and you're just dead consistent. And that's like, people would kill to have that shape year round, but instead even if you said to them, yeah, I eat ice cream a couple times a week, I had pizza the other night and I do this, they'll go, huh? They still won't do it. Yeah. And they're like, nope, I need this. Well, I seen Sean Baker talk about carnivore, so I need to do that. And it's like, he looks better than Sean. If you're basing it off physiques, like you should probably use this approach.
Yeah. Well, think like if I had to list Ryan's favorite foods,
ham, apple,
and grapes.
He liked ham apple, but I know he loves a Ben and Jerry's and a Haagen-Dazs. I know he loves ice cream. I know he loves lager,
IPA.
Yeah.
and he loves the Oreos as well.
Yeah.
So he loves ham, he loves apples, he likes lager, he likes Oreos, he likes Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, it's not bad balance.
If anything, you got more junk than good. But then if you look at the actual quantities, 90% of your diet comes from ham and apples.
I'll balance it out with the grapes as well.
It's fruit and lean protein, and then kind of fill in the gaps with, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's it, isn't it? Because basically we're looking for consistency over time, something that's sustainable. So someone who's clean eating, they're only going to be able to do that. They won't even last the week.
Yeah.
It's
but it's consistency with what matters. Because you can be a consistent clean eater. Some people will eat clean for 10 years. But again, they're still not in shape because they're clean eating too much peanut butter. They're clean eating too much avocados, too many ribeyes, too many potatoes. Therefore, they're out of shape. So it's like you can, even if you did find a way to be consistent with your clean eating, you're still being consistent with something that isn't the thing that's moving the needle.
Yeah.
It's something that's taking your distraction,
You have to understand the underlying principles like intake. And then
And it's, you see it the same thing with training where it's like, hey, what do you think about the strength curve on this versus this? And it's like, have you tried training hard? First, it's like you're worrying about the minutiae and you're jumping around on different training programs, but you haven't even understood basic technique and proper training intensity. And it's the same thing with food. It's like you're worrying about the technique and the sets and the reps, but you haven't understood that the driving thing is training hard.
Yeah.
And it's like you haven't understood the premise of nutrition is calorie intake and eating enough protein.
Yeah.
That's such a good example, like those two, because training hard is really difficult.
Yeah.
And when you're in a deficit, being hungry is uncomfortable, so you will do anything to avoid those things. It's like, oh, what do you think about the strength curve on this lat pull down? It's like, just put 4 plates on it and rip it for 20.
Yeah. But it's the same when you start dieting, you're like, I'm a bit hungry, and you're like, I need to shuffle my macros around. Like I need to do a low carb approach because I'm feeling hungry. And it's like, or you just suck it up.
Yeah.
I need a refeed.
Yeah. You'll convince yourself. Yeah.
This is where social media comes in, though, isn't it? It's like the reels with training are like, this is why you haven't got a big chest. And it's like, because what you got to do, you got to make sure that you're driving your elbow across this way. And it's like, no, because you haven't trained hard or for very long.
Here's why you haven't got a big chest, because you're 6 months into your training career and you haven't got any muscle yet.
And you train like a pussy.
Yeah.
That reel won't go down. But the same from a diet standpoint. It's like, this food is killing you. And then it'll go into some the chemicals within this food. Whereas if they went, if you want to get in shape, you're going to track your nutrition quite meticulously for the next 2 years, and you're going to really start to learn about what balance looks like for you as an individual, and then you're going to try these different foods, and you're going to go through. Oh no, I don't want to watch that. This is too much.
The thing I shared with you of Alex Viado, and he's like, he's shredded year round, and he's like, yeah, I just figured I'd put together my top 5 lists of foods to avoid for 2026 if you want to be shredded. And it's like 1 car battery. And then it's like just these random objects, don't eat these things. but it's like, it's obviously in jest, but it's got that underlying kind of meaning of just don't overthink it. I think, if there was people are still chasing the hack of, well, if I avoid gluten, I'm suddenly going to drop 20 pounds of body fat. If I, eat X food, then this is going to have this effect. If I avoid yellow 20 and red 46, I'm never going to get sick again. And it's like, no, you probably will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you keep your calories in check consistently, you get your body fat to a decent level, then if you want to play around with food choices and again, track data of how do you feel? How are your energy levels? How's your digestion? How's your sleep? The types of foods you eat will impact all of those things. Mm-hmm. And again, people will look at this and saying that we're shitting on clean food. And by no means, we're not doing that.
Not one bit.
Where you need to take a look at, well, how do you feel with the foods that you're eating? And if you're like, yeah, I feel really good, but all day I'm just struggling and I crave these things, then there's the conversation of, well, how long do you think you can sustain this then? And what's going to happen when you break? And so it's so individual Where like, you know, I've got one client where I'd say 80% of his food is protein shakes, protein powders, things like that. Looks phenomenal. Blood work, outstanding. Energy levels through the roof. Digestion on point. Sleep, perfect. Cool. If I ate that diet, I would probably take 19 shits a day.
Yeah.
Like, but at no point am I going to go to him like, that's a terrible diet, because if I did it, I would suck.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. Like, you found the thing that's worked for you. And that's through 2 years of collecting data and you giving feedback and making the adjustments and me having a little bit of input. And now we found this sweet spot. For someone else, it might be like, yeah, we probably need to eat like a pretty low fat diet and mainly unprocessed foods, because whenever you eat junk, you know, digestion goes off, you sleep like shit, we get massive water retention. Sorry, bro. Like, we're probably gonna have to keep the diet a bit cleaner.
Yeah.
But it's to say there's one size fits all and everyone should be eating a certain way, I just think is so false.
Yeah.
Because no one, like, yes, we all kind of, you know, it's calories in, calories out. There's some underlying principles for everyone, but everyone's different. In the same breath.
That's it, like moderation. And that's where like some people say you've just got to eat in moderation. Moderation looks a little bit different to most people as well. And it's like what moderates Ryan well might not moderate me well. Like your guy has almost found what moderation looks like for him.
Yes.
He's found a way that he can eat that allows him to reach his goals. He looks good, feels good, sleeps well, functions well, and blood works good. Like, he's getting all the things he wants from his diet, and that happens to be pretty processed to a degree. Whereas, like, again, that's not what moderation would look like for, say, me. I know for me to walk around a little bit leaner, I've got to eat a lot more fruits and vegetables to keep myself full, because if I eat too many highly processed foods, I generally get pretty hungry. But it's like, but that's just what moderation might look like for me. So it's important as well when people say, you've just got to eat in moderation. You don't know what moderation is. You just know, you know roughly, and because again, there's only so many ways a diet can vary. Like, you think, oh, moderation, like, you should have a bit of this, you shouldn't restrict from this, you should have. You track the information for 2 to 3 years. You learn, you get feedback. By the end of the 3 years, you will know what your moderation looks like. And now you've won the game, and now you can carry on for the rest of your life.
It's like you ask, you know, someone could say, oh, you know, I eat takeout in moderation, and then they go, I eat it 4 times a week. And you're like, that ain't fucking moderation. Like, that's way too much.
Your perception of moderation is different.
Exactly. You're comparing it to something because maybe they used to eat it twice a day. And so, well, that is pretty moderate compared to what you were doing. And same thing with training volume. You'd be like, yeah, moderate volume, like 50 sets of muscle group. You're like, what? It's like, no, but I've come from a elite athlete background where we were doing 3 a days. Like, oh, that's pretty moderate then. And so it's like, it's very, very contextual. But this is what we, you know, the thing that I want to kind of drive home is context is everything. Like, when you understand the context, then you can make an informed decision. But to say blanket statements with zero context it's just flawed. Because there's you can get 2 situations where the recommendations for each are the polar opposite, and the outcome might be the same. Like, health markers improve, body fat drops down. One's on a keto diet, one's on a no fat diet. Outcomes are the same. Both super happy, got everything they want. Like, the only thing we're biased towards is results. Like, I have no affinity to a type of diet. We can look at the evidence from years of working with people saying, this way tends to work and be very effective for most people based on environment, behaviors, habits, practicality. But that doesn't mean that this is going to work for you. Like, and it's like when we get to know each other and we look at your day to day and your feedback and stuff, then we tailor it to you. Like, that's all it comes down to.
Well, this is what we say, don't we? We start with a plan and we adjust it based on the feedback we get. We'll tailor it as we go.
When you say about not being married to a certain diet, it's like, I got one of my guys has been diagnosed with heart disease. And he was like, oh, I want to go plant-based because I've read that plant-based will help with his diet. And I was like, I just explained to him, I was like, you don't need to go plant-based to help with your heart disease. Like, you can still eat some animal products and things and still move in the right direction. But also I was like, but he was like, I could tell he really wanted to go plant-based. He's obviously read something and heard something that really is motivating him to go plant-based. So I was like, sound, let's go. I was like, it doesn't, I don't mind if you want to go plant-based or not. I'm just saying you don't need to. Like, based on the information that I know of, you don't need to go plant-based to solve, or at least help this problem. But I was like, but if you're motivated to go plant-based, we can also try and solve the problem by going plant-based as well. So whichever way you want to go. But it's like, the things like reducing your body weight and doing more aerobic activity, they're still going to be there whether you go plant-based or not. The plant-based, for me, I'm just looking at that like a personal preference. Like, sound. Like,
and also, if you went against him, you probably would have butt heads and he was probably going to do it anyway. So you're better off
exactly.
working
If I tell him he's not going plant-based, he'd probably leave the program.
So I'm like, work with him, collect data, it might work and he might be happy.
Oh, if he can reverse the problem and go plant-based, fine. If he decides plant-based is not for him and we can still solve the problem, fine again. Like, my main thing is trying to make sure that he lives longer. Is the plan.
There's just too many variables to factor in. Like, even if you look at most of the research from a longevity standpoint, it seems to be the Mediterranean style diet reigns supreme. But you can also look at it and say, well, what else do those people do in their day? What's their stress levels like? How many hours a week do they work? Like, are the majority of them married with kids? Like, where do they live? What's the weather like? And like, all of these variables also impact your health. And so it's like, olives and olive oil, baby. But it's like, well, they live like, there's nice scenery, they take siestas.
Portion size is small. Well, you have 4 olives and a drizzle of olive oil. Not like, there we go then.
So there's so many variables to it. So like, there really is not a one size fits all approach. There's principles and certain philosophies that we can use as a starting template, but it does just come down to the individual needs of the client. And so like, if I, summon this one up in terms of like the clean eating, if you feel like you've been stuck in that and you've tried to keep your foods too quote unquote healthy and the cravings and things are starting to settle in, don't be afraid to incorporate some of those other foods. Just, if you're working with a coach, talk to them about it, and just try it. Like, just collect feedback from yourself, look at energy levels, digestion, sleep, performance, and if you feel good and it lowers the cravings, great. But I think overall people need to stop obsessing so much about these kind of little things before the big rocks have been moved. So that's not for me to say, don't worry about chemicals in your food. Don't worry about this. Like, no. There is a time and a place for that. But if you're 50 pounds overweight and you haven't yet done anything and you're worrying about the gluten or dairy or something in your diet, focus on the big rocks first, and then that stuff will come afterwards.
Mic drop. Love that.
Boom. I would drop it, but mic drop. But awesome, guys. Thank you as always for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and we'll see you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, reminding you to always go get what's yours.